Yeah, I mean, I'm not one for like casting spells and such, anyway. So not no. I'm not like, this is how I'm going to get over this relationship. I will,
Now,
have a séance and ask the spirits to.
now wait. I have in my drawer 2 candles, a love
Oh,
candle and
that shit works. That works. That is legit, like 100%. No, the Mexican prayer candles are for real, and I love them. I have a ton of them right now. I think I have 4 of them burning right now. Not all for love, one for love, but I've got that trabajo one. It's like for work to get a job. I've got double rapida suerta, like so, double quick love or double quick luck. Yeah, but I lit a couple of them last week, and then I put into two very hard days of work looking for a job, and I have 3 interviews this week. So,
ladies and
I
gentlemen,
mean, I don't know.
folks, listeners, if you want to learn what works, you have come to the right place. This is the kind of
That's right.
podcast that will tell you about Mexican prayer candles and how they will change your life, your luck, your love, and your finances. Ladies and gentlemen, cue the music. This is Robert and Kalyn Get Rich, a weekly podcast about money, business, finances, and just sort of having fun. We're hoping you were catching you on your drive home on Friday afternoons and you can let loose a little bit with us. This is episode 12. It is June 26th. I am your host, Robert Kimmel. My co-host is my sister, Kalyn Kimmel. We are 2 people who don't know too much about finances, but we know about Mexican prayer candles. And what else do we know that we don't do, Kalyn?
We do not provide financial advice or investment advice, or maybe both. No investment advice, though, for sure.
Really, there's no sort of advice that you should listen to this podcast and take from us.
Except when investing in your future, and then you should absolutely do that with Mexican prayer candles, 100%.
One thing we will solidly recommend is Mexican prayer candles. If you like that kind of advice, why don't you go ahead and smash
That like button and send this over to all of your friends and subscribe so you can get every single episode. We'll probably have a Patreon set up soon, so you can get all kinds of extra features, like Lucky Nuts does.
and you can
our very favorite
and you can send
listener.
us money for no particular reason.
Yeah, for just like 30 cents a day, you can sponsor these 2 siblings living their best lives with their Mexican prayer candles.
You can feed these 2 siblings, yes, in their poor and destitute lives in Cleveland, Ohio, and Houston, Texas. Well,
Yeah, you should adopt us.
well, we are kind of poor and destitute, Kalyn. I've got
Oh no.
well, it's good news, bad news. So good news, you can see on the Get Rich portfolio, which is every time we do one of these episodes,
Yeah.
we make an investment in some company. Now I want to as a disclaimer, I want to say that this is not real investments. We haven't yet put any real money against this because tend to invest in a whole bunch of goofy crap. And because it's goofy crap, our gain for today is 0.05%, 0.02%, and our overall gain is just a little bit above zero. So the good news is we're just a little bit above zero.
We have not lost money.
We have not lost money. The bad news is we haven't made a lot of money. And you know what has gone really sideways here, Kalyn?
What?
Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment, our very favorite stock in our portfolio, down 26%.
What? I bet it's because they didn't hire me as their CEO.
Well, they need to really start thinking. I mean, that should be the
they gotta get serious about it. You're right.
But here is the chart for the week. So you can see that on the 21st, which was Friday, they lost basically all of that 25% in one day. So
Wow.
so I went to look for news, and the only news is that second season of the hit influencer reality show. So people must hate this reality show. Follow me.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's just showing this stock is just as volatile as hell, which is no surprise because it's a penny stock, and they invest in Red Box
Yeah, during the pandemic.
soup and dog treats. So this all averages out to zero, but like nothing's at zero except for ATAI. Our big gainer, Chewy, 38%.
Yeah.
They just are crushing it since we bought that one. Down a little today, but no big deal. Novo Nordisk, strong performer.
Yeah.
And
So I
in
actually
the
just saw something in the news about Novo Nordisk. This is semaglutide slash Ozempic for everybody. So they are fighting this potential for a generic to be available that could cost a whole lot less. And I'm like, I wonder if that means I should sell my actual stock of Novo Nordisk or just keep riding the wave and see what happens.
This is my understanding, Kalyn, is there's a declared shortage of this drug from Novo Nordisk. And according to the FDA rules, if there's a shortage of something,
Yeah.
then other companies can come in and provide it. So my thesis would be Novo Nordisk keeps ramping up production, and eventually they start producing enough that they can remove this shortage. The generics providers can no longer provide it in that scenario, and all of a sudden everybody that was buying generic has to either get off the drug or go over to the brand name stuff.
Yeah, I don't quite understand why we have shortages of this stuff because apparently the raw materials are available. If someone can make a generic and it's being made, then we have what's necessary to make it. And this seems like your little cash cow. So this isn't a very complicated equation here to me. I'm basically taking only like 0.25. So I've been getting the sample. My friend is able to get it from like his doctor's office. I've been getting it for free. Brand name. So maybe you guys should stop giving away these free samples if you can't make an, what's going on here? I don't understand it.
You know, when you put it like that, it's like, all right, somebody can make this shit. Why? How about you,
Yeah.
Novo Nordisk?
Right.
I mean, we're goddamn investors in your company. Like, you need to figure this out. Answer my question.
Absolutely.
So maybe we've got a homework assignment here of like figuring out what the heck is standing in the way of Novo Nordisk
Yeah.
building out their capacity, for God's sake.
Right. So I prescribed Adderall, and for like 6 months there was an Adderall shortage, and I'm like, what is so hard to make here? And nothing has changed with the demand. I wouldn't think there's no reason for drug shortages. How can it be that hard to acquire these materials? I don't know.
Well, have you heard about the bombings in the Suez Canal? Maybe it has something to do with the Suez Canal. putting the Adderall on these boats,
Right.
the Adderall ingredients, and then the freaking the Houthi rebels come by and they shoot it
Right,
up.
and then they're like, let's take the semaglutide, but only the brand name stuff. Leave that other shit. I only want Ozempic brand.
We gotta have standards here amongst the
Yeah.
Houthi rebels. I mean,
Right.
kind of
Who
outfit you think
knows?
we're running? We're not over here using generic bazookas to shoot these ships with. I don't even know what they're shooting the ships with. Rockets. Damn it, Ahmed! Did you buy generic fucking missiles again? I'm trying to blow a hole in a ship, son. We gotta just buy the good stuff,
I'm trying
man.
to take these guys down. What are you trying to do to us?
These aren't the chips. You can't buy the Kirkland brand missiles.
Exactly. We're not going to Mexico for this stuff.
U.S. manufactured good stuff.
Exactly. But
I feel an obligation to share also our baseline performance. So you remember we were like right at break even. Anyhow, if I look at the baseline, the S&P 500, if we had made the same investments over time at the same points, is up 4%. So it's cranking. It's basically the same story we've seen before.
yeah. Well, today the S&P is down 0.4, it looks like.
We are up 0.1%. So
Yes.
don't rest on your laurels, S&P. We are coming for you.
That's right. While it may look like you're going to win the war, we're definitely winning the battle of today. 0.01 up versus 0.04 down.
I have to give you some updates from last week. So the biggest number one update, listeners, you'll have to go back and listen to episode 11 where we had Tony Reno as our guest for the week. And as you may recall, Tony and I were going on a boat trip. We were going on a trip on a boat, but the boat was not actually moving from the dock because they were having mechanical problems. So our options were to go have dinner on a boat, or as she called it, a yacht. And
Yeah, it was very fancy. There were outfits bought and all kinds of stuff. I thought I was gonna get photos, but I'm yet to see them.
I don't think I even have photos, which I wish I did for this very episode, because if you imagine the most amazing thing possible, the most positive thing that could have come from this boat outing where this boat doesn't move, you could hardly guess what came of this evening out with friends. Are you ready for this after this build up?
I don't know. I mean, I'm picturing the pearly gates opening, and it's just like, oh,
The rapture.
doves were really.
The rapture came down and they sucked Tony and Lisa up to heaven, and the rest of us got left behind.
And you're
So
like, they're dead. That sucks.
no, pretty close. Next best thing. One of the couples at our dinner got married by the captain on the boat on the spur of the moment.
Last week they did.
1 week ago today.
Whoa.
We went out to this dinner on the boat, or as Tony said, a yacht. All right, listen, let me set the stage. This boat used to be a car carrier or something. It's got 4 levels, and there's a dining room on the bottom, and it's like...
It's basically the Titanic, like super fancy. There's people that...
It's basically like not super fancy.
Yeah, no,
it's basically
the
like...
yacht's the fancy yacht there. Go on.
We talked about the buffet at the casino. It's probably the caliber of the buffet at the casino. Some of the buffet items were pretty good. The beef was real tasty. So our 4 couples are there in our silly colored hats. And in the midst of this above average dinner on a above average boat that's not really a yacht,
That's at the dock.
The one couple that wasn't married, they're engaged to each other, but not married, with plans in the near future to go to the Justice of the Peace. Somehow it comes up in conversation that boat captains can marry couples.
Uh-huh.
And they grab the waitress, and they're like, hey, will the captain marry us? So after dinner, we all marched up to the top deck. The people went around the boat and took the flowers out of centerpieces and things like that. Frank and I marched the bride down the aisle. The ship's captain officiated. He did a pretty nice job. And it was like super cool, super spontaneous, romantic, all of that stuff. And
Tony's like, damn it, Lisa, why are you not wearing the dress? We would look like bridesmaids.
So here's the thing, right? Why was the captain available? Because the boat wasn't moving. This is like meant to be, right? He couldn't have officiated the wedding if we had actually pulled out of dock and gone on
around the East River or whatever. That's so funny. I mean, very spontaneous of your friends.
And it was like, when they came back and said, yeah, the captain will do it, then the groom was like, oh. And then eventually he's like, yeah, what the hell? Let's do it.
Yeah. So, well, that's not too bad for cold feet then. Wow. So you went to a wedding.
An unplanned wedding. You can't imagine this having turned out better. I mean, it's incredible.
Whose idea was it to go talk to the captain?
I don't remember I think I was engaged in sidebar conversation at that point.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, next thing I know is like, yeah.
You're like, hey, Robert, are you available to give away the bride? We need...
What?
There's a bride? Wow. Well, that's much better than I was expecting the evening to go. I mean, I thought it would be a fun evening. I didn't think it was going to be a crappy evening.
Sometimes you just got to take life as it comes, you know?
Yeah. I think you always have to do that because that's the option you have.
As the other piece to follow up, I thought I'd give a trip report on my trip to the candy warehouse. So a few episodes ago, we mentioned candy cigarettes, and we got the feedback that candy cigarettes were the best tasting chocolate candy. And so then we had some discussion about what are the other major chocolate candies, and do they produce candy cigarettes anymore or not. And so there's one place here in town, this candy warehouse. I'll show you the brochure. This is the real sign with a huge popsicle up in the air.
Lollipop.
Lollipop on that you can see from 480. I put my pictures in presentation mode.
There he is.
In front of B.A. Sweetie Candy Company.
Yeah.
I was like, as I was taking this picture, I was like, am I going to look funny taking this picture out in front of this? And
Nope.
I'm like, nah, they get this all the time. And as I was walking back out at the end, what is the people walking in doing? They're taking a picture of themselves. Here we are at the candy warehouse.
Yeah.
In case you can't imagine what a candy warehouse looks like inside, that's
Yeah.
what it looks like. They
Wow.
have all manner of stuff.
A quick question on the organization of the candy. Were all these chalk candies together? Is there a chalky aisle and a it's like this is the aisle for fruity stuff. This is for the sour stuff.
There's some of that, but I don't think they came up with the chalky candy. They certainly put an individual brand together. I'll show you some of that. First of all, here in this front aisle, here's a pallet of the double bubble gum that we talked about a couple up episodes ago.
And Big League Chew also right there. In a
Yeah,
yeah. Is it in a cylinder shape though?
well, it's in a bat. I cut off the top, but
Gotcha.
and speaking of, that's what the Big League Chew
Oh
section.
my god. They have a lot of flavors.
They do. This is like what 7 or 8 flavors
Yeah.
across the top there. Yeah, because you got to have original, you got to have grape, you got to
grape,
have watermelon,
sour apple, or blueberry.
You know, when I was a kid, I used to think it was images of real baseball players on these. I didn't think they were photos, but I thought it was like, oh, they've taken this famous baseball player and made a
That's Joe
cartoon out of him.
DiMaggio.
Yeah, and he's the guy for the watermelon flavor or whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't believe that anymore.
No.
I don't know why I took this picture at the candy warehouse, but it's very representative of your average aisle there. I looked at it, I'm like, there is just so much of this inventory that's like, it's got to be so slow moving. You know, you're just waiting for that kid to walk by that just really wants the Kool-Aid man or Pikachu or whatever.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
When I saw this, I was just like, what's Fred Flintstone's market value these days in terms of driving sales? I don't know.
Yeah.
But he's like way more well-known than Kool-Aid Man, and Kool-Aid Man's way more well-known than a lot of the stuff on these candies. It's incredible. And there is just some...
What? Yeah, I've seen so... This is like a thing these days. These gummy whatever, I find it repulsive.
I have no idea if this tastes anything like mac and cheese, which would be just disgusting. But I was like, again, what is the market for gummy mac and cheese? Like somebody walked up to Kraft and was like, listen, we need to license your brand. We're making gummy mac and cheese.
Yeah. They're like, hang on, I need a meeting with your CEO. I've got a $1 billion idea to sell to you guys over at Kraft. Ready? Buckle up. This one's going to be good. How about this? You guys have the dinner market squared away, obviously, but like, what about dessert? You can have Kraft mac and cheese for dinner and then Kraft mac and cheese gummies right afterwards. They also have like Lunchables. Like they'll have a disc that's a gummy, and then you put other gummies on top of it. I'm like, what in the world?
I saw that very thing. I saw gummy sushi.
Mm-hmm. That also reminds me of, I just was rewatching my the Jadooby Dubs, my old favorites. They had one that they covered what was part of an episode of Sex Sent Me to the ER, right? This couple, I guess they'd gotten this giant gummy bear. And I'm like, I don't know where this is going, so I'm going to definitely watch this. Like,
you gotta watch something like that.
Yeah. And basically, they decided to microwave it so that then it would be warm. And I don't know why this was a good idea to begin with, but then the guy microwaves it too long and then pours it on the girl and gives her like 3rd-degree burns on her chest. And I'm like, why did you think that having a big ass gummy bear in the bedroom, like, why were you like, this is gonna really spice up our sex life? What was the best case scenario here? Let's play this one out. That you were gonna be like, I'm really sticky. And why is there this huge gummy bear? A single gummy bear that's the size of my head. But yeah, anyways, it was great because those guys are like, like doing their silly voices and whatever. But yeah.
They did that over this sex.
Yeah, because this is like a reenactment that's happening on the like Sex ER. So they're like, this is hot enough, or whatever, doing that kind of voice over the guy. Which these people are terrible actors. I mean, it's like very, very bad reenactment. But anyway, great video. We can include a link. I love
Yeah. Let's put that on the Facebook page. Exactly. That sounds amazing. I've got to watch that. All right. And then, of course, I found the grand prize,
Yay!
which was yes, in fact, they do still make candy cigarettes.
Thank God.
And so, Kalyn, in the mail to you right now is a package
Of lucky.
containing one pack of candy cigarettes,
Can't wait.
some number of Pez that I cannot remember.
Hopefully one.
I was
Okay.
going to buy the Batman one for the Warner Brothers tie-in, and then
Oh.
somehow when I got to checkout, I had only the refill pack. And now I seem to have all of 2 flavors, and you've got different flavors, but
Wow.
I don't know if it matters.
I mean, probably. I'll just mail them back to you, and you can mail me the flavors you've got.
Yeah,
Because
great
that's
idea.
totally worth it.
And then finally, 1 pack of Necco wafers. Now, Necco used to make the candy hearts, but then they declared bankruptcy and it was sold to somebody else. But evidently, Necco still makes something for somebody. Necco stands for Northeast Candy Company, which is in Boston and is a great source of pride to Bostonians because they're very proud of their hockey, their baked
Everything
beans,
is Boston.
and they're really
Okay,
shitty
Dunks.
candy.
Hey, let's go get.
Yeah, Dunks. Let's go to Dunks and eat some shitty candy.
Yeah.
Hey kid, you like your shitty
Yeah, you
candy?
like some Necco wafers? I'll be at the bar. Like.
It's wicked chalky, yo. Come on, kid. Eat some wicked chalky.
Yeah. What's up with the Patriots playing the whatever?
Yeah, the Patriots are playing the Giants. Let's go get some Necco wafers. So here we are. This is
Oh,
what
so realistic.
and when you said looks like a piece of chalk.
Very similar. Yeah.
Yeah,
They didn't even put a color like on it for like the filters usually.
the filter
like
or
some-
any of that.
Yeah.
No, this is like roll your own. I'm so tempted to stick this in my mouth, but I will wait till our taste test next week. So
Look how
listeners,
disciplined you are.
tune back in for and also it doesn't take too much discipline to turn down sticking a piece of chalk in your mouth. You know how I found them? Was I was turning an aisle and a family's there and the mom's like, "Hey kids, you want candy cigarettes?"
I love that.
World Confection Inc. is the makers.
Of course.
And of course, they're very much like Optum Health. They're very cost conscious, so they manufacture these in Colombia.
Okay. Yeah.
You ship it into Maplewood, New Jersey, and then they distribute it to all the candy warehouses far and wide, where families can
all
introduce
over
their
the
kids.
U.S.
Hi, friend of the show, Kelly Whitmore, sent this in, and I thought it was kind of interesting. It's a new app, and it's called Autopilot.
Okay.
It's the investment app that feels like magic. So this is why, because it's an investment app, that's why she thought it would be of interest to us. So it's kind of cool. So basically, you pick people like you pick.
You're like, I'm in Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah, and it takes their investment and it just automatically puts you in the same investments as that person. So you say like, okay, I'm going to put $5,000 in the Pelosi tracker. And if they buy Apple stock, it'll buy Apple stock, you know.
So interesting.
It's got Buffett. It's got this guy Burry, who was a big hedge fund guy. So
I was going to ask if he was the guy from the Long Short, or is that the one that the housing market?
The Big Short.
Yeah,
the Big Short.
Yeah.
That is the guy. Yeah, he made a ton of money there. So I could see like investing in him.
Yeah.
In his portfolio.
Yeah, totally. I like how they have the picture of Nancy Pelosi where it's like she's meditating or something. Like, why are her eyes closed? Kind of funny.
This is what she'll look like in a coffin.
Yeah, we're at Madame Tussauds, and here's Nancy Pelosi's wax sculpture.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm in Charles Schwab, so it wouldn't do Charles Schwab, and I was like, I'm not signing up for Robinhood for this crap.
No. Yeah.
I probably won't do it anywhere, but I thought it was a cool idea. But,
that is an interesting idea. I like that.
It's because they're able to do that because politicians have to disclose what they've invested in, right?
I guess, and investors too, or hedge fund people.
Yes, if you manage more than 100 million in assets or something, you have to file each quarter what's called a 13F.
Oh,
that discloses what you're in or what you were in at the end of that quarter or something. So
yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
cool app.
Interesting.
Thanks Kelly for sending that in. We talked about it. We didn't think of anything
Yeah,
funny to say about it, except for Nancy Pelosi in a coffin.
that's
I
true.
guess
Yeah.
kind of funny.
Yeah. Slash meditating at Madame Trousseau's.
Usually at Madame Tussauds, the people look like they're doing something, don't
Right.
they? Or at
Not
least in some
that would be a great Madame Tussauds exhibit. Like, here's what dead celebrities look like. Nancy Pelosi in her coffin.
very macabre,
Yeah.
very ghoulish.
Yeah. I have a funny story that's real, like, ghoulish related, I guess. So I have those huge skulls in my backyard. They're like this, like from my waist to my head. I've sent pictures to Kiara of me with one, and she was like, "You look dead," and I was like, "Oh, Kiara, you're so sweet." Late the other night, my next door neighbor, who I have never met, he came up to me as I was walking to the laundry and was like, "Hey, I've locked myself out of my apartment and out of my car. Like, I don't know what to do. Can you help me?" I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Well, I was blackout drunk earlier, and now I don't know where my keys are, but I definitely drove here from the bar." So I was like, "Okay, sure." So we go look in his car, and he's locked his keys in his car, basically. But we called AAA, and I was like, "Well, you can hang out in my back patio since you can't get to your back patio." Um, and he was like, "I like your statues, the skulls," and like he was like, "I'm new to spirituality and witch stuff," and I was like, "Wait, what?" I was like, "Yeah, I mean, I see like like a 666 thing up too, and then the two skulls and whatever, and like, and then I have the Mexican prayer candles, and I'm like, oh my god, I totally do seem like I'm a witch right now. I have a fire pit, and I'll sometimes like throw incense in it because I have like incense and I don't need it, and so I'm just like, let's burn this, it'll smell nice, and I'm like, oh, I totally read like witchy. I'm like, you drunk ass 20 something, 22-year-old have just made me see myself in a whole new way. And I'm like, I need to tone this down a little bit. This is a little much. Maybe I'm going to take down all the like 666 stuff and limit the candle use. I'm like, I'm not into like actual like skeleton, like death. Like that's not like what I'm not, I don't know. I'm not a goth. Oh, I'm a witch. That's what you're saying right now.
I had two stocks I was gonna show you
Oh yeah.
just for the fun of it. The first one is Zoom,
Oh.
right? I brought Zoom because we had the whole talk about IPOs around Reddit's IPO and so on.
Yeah.
Well, Zoom, they hit an all-time low. So if you
Wow.
go all the way back to their IPO,
Oh yeah.
they IPO'd at a higher dollar figure than they are today. If you bought it at
Wow.
IPO, you've lost 12%. I mean, look at this chart. You bought it $60, it ran up to $500,
Yeah.
and then now it's down to below $60. But they're just getting
I
crushed in the
mean,
market.
yeah, I was wondering as soon as you said Zoom, like I had never heard of Zoom prior to the pandemic. I
Right.
don't know if any of us had, but now we all say Zoom calls and stuff. Like it's
Yeah.
become like Band-Aid. But man, did they drop the ball because you should have been snatching up business. And
Well,
also who dropped the
and
ball is like everyone else who did video conferencing prior to the pandemic. I'd always use Skype or Teams. And
yep.
yeah, I was amazed that didn't show up more prevalently in non-business settings.
Yeah, before we Zoomed, we Skyped, right? And it was
Right.
Citrix before that. And this just must be an impossible market to like hold on to and make money at on a consistent basis, I guess, because I mean, even right now we're using this technology that must be based on similar technology to Zoom calls.
Yeah, but like I mean, Zoom came out of nowhere. I mean, and you've been using whatever video conferencing for how long? This isn't a new thing. I mean, Microsoft owns Skype, don't they? Or they own Teams.
I feel like it is Skype they own as well.
Yeah.
If that's still a thing. I don't even know if that's a
Yeah, I
brand
know that
anymore.
Skype is still available, like, but
The
like, well,
same crowd that still has AOL and such
they
email
probably just
addresses.
got acquired by Chicken Soup for the Soul, actually.
That's why the stock tanked this
Yeah.
week. They acquired Skype. That makes perfect sense. They would.
But yeah, I was like, man, how is it that Citrix or these others that the business users out there were super familiar with using, how is it that at pandemic, why aren't you seeing this opportunity or trying to compete directly with Zoom? Because it was an open market. I was very
It just
surprised.
exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a mystery to me. I don't know what it is about that business. I
Yeah.
guess, and nobody pays for it. It's like all these other things nobody's willing to pay for, right?
Right.
But the other stock I was going to show you now, I think I even mentioned these guys, Rivian.
Mhm.
They've been on my watch list, and that's their 5-day chart. If you go back
Yeah.
a couple of months, they've kind of been on a drag, but I had like a week or two ago, I was looking at them and thinking about them. They're one of these where they were selling at something like 0.8% or no, sorry, 80% of book value or whatever. And it's like, even if you sold their assets, you could make money off this company or whatever. So as you can see, they spiked yesterday, but basically Volkswagen came in and made a $3 billion investment in Rivian.
Huh.
They're going to start using Rivian's technology. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah.
This is what I wanted to happen with Spirit Airlines. Maybe it still will, but it's like, of course, the one I don't pull the trigger on is the one that spikes. The one I do pull the trigger on is the one that tanks.
I mean,
it's just,
so
this is not how you get rich, Kalyn.
yeah, I'm surprised that it hasn't done better since we've talked about them last, which has been a couple of episodes ago. But like, they had some like not fortuitous, like God, I can't think of like auspicious. That's what I'm looking for. Like, what's the word for like good omen?
You should know you're a witch.
I know, right? God, I need to cast a spell on them.
Can you get a Mexican candle that is for Spirit Airlines?
Probably. I like. There's one that I got recently. I got it because it's like the weirdest protection stuff. It's like protect me from assassins' arrows and earthquakes and death by tornadoes. I'm like, okay.
You don't got to worry about tornadoes no more.
Yeah.
I have a candle.
Yeah.
It'll take care of that.
Yeah, I'm like, good, thank God. And I don't want any assassins' arrows coming my way either. Keep those archers far away. Whew.
Kalyn, any more homework before we dive into our stock of the week?
I don't think so. No.
I bet you're wondering what the heck the stock of the week is.
I know, because when we hung up last time, I was like, don't we need a stock?
So I made an executive decision in your absence because you offhandedly 2 weeks ago mentioned two stocks, ATAI, which we reviewed last week, and then you also mentioned True in your portfolio.
Which is not doing really well, if I remember correctly.
We strung together ATAI, Am I the Asshole, and True. A little. It is true. Well, all right. I would say they're not doing so bad. Let's go look at this stock chart. Yeah, they're having a rough day today. In the past year, they're down 1%. In the past 5 years, they're down 3.5%. All time.
TransUnion, huh? That's like credit company, isn't it? Like that credit rating?
Yeah, they are a credit rating company. They're one of the three main ones with Experian and Equifax, right? So I was looking at these guys, and as usual, I pull up their quarterly report, and their quarter.
Tell me they sent something crazy in.
No, this was the most boring of quarterly reports ever. They were also, by the way, this is like the most boring thing we've ever looked at. Here, I'll go to the About Us. I was like this freaking put me to sleep. Like, you know, you
leave it to the financial people, like people checking your credit. I bet those bean counters are boring AF. Like, I bet they have all their ducks are in a row. Nothing fun.
I know. Don't they know how to run a business? They have get profit and stuff. I mean,
right.
I bet you didn't know they started as the Union Tank Car Company, rail car leasing operation, and then they created TransUnion.
That actually makes sense as far as like wanting to check credit for like car sales in a way.
And then in the 70s, they shook hands with people. And then in 88, they covered the United States.
We're in America.
Yeah, exactly. And then 2012, look at this. They flew a lot of places.
Oh my gosh. They had a party in 2015.
Yeah, that's them going public after, how long was that? That's 50 years?
It's a long time, yeah.
Yeah, darn near 50 years. And then they expanded into India and such places. Mm-hmm. And why isn't it in the About Us? They had a video, and I watched this video, and I was like, oh my God. Kill me now. But anyway, I went to their 10Q and it's like, all right, they're doing pretty well. I got nothing to complain about in this 10Q. And then this is the one like weird, quirky thing. I noted back to that chart, right? I love PE ratios, right? Mm-hmm. And so PE ratio is blank, right? Which ties to when they have negative profit, and that's why they have a negative EPS here. But in the 10Q, they didn't have negative profit; they had positive profit, right?
Huh.
So I'm like, what the heck is going on here?
Yeah.
Well, if you look at the yearlies, right? Negative profit, negative. Okay, positive. So back in 2022, positive, then 2023, and the last 12 months as of today, negative. If you go to quarters, right? See, positive this quarter, positive kind of last quarter, very negative at this September quarter. So you could see this on the chart, right? That's this quarter ending September. You go to October, then you have your earnings announcements like mid October.
Mm-hmm.
The price tanked, and then they've been doing just fine after that, right?
Huh.
So I'm like, I gotta learn more about this. I went and I watched this video, something called The Moat Show by Vanek Investments, which they've got these two just really boring hosts, and then they're interviewing this guy. Here's our other host. He's not quite as boring, but he is kind of
He looks about
campy.
12 at the moment.
I think they took their two youngest people and like, you two go make a podcast.
Like, you guys are good looking, right? Like, people like
Yeah.
young people.
Somehow these sons of bitches got 21,000 views on this, and they have 3.6 thousand subscribers. I can't get 100 people to watch our videos, but anyway.
How many people work at this company? Like,
Van
every
Eck,
employee must go to YouTube and watch our video.
Oh, that's true. Maybe they did that. How many people work at Van Eck? This is important information.
Yeah.
400 employees. Yeah, I didn't think it was like the biggest investment management company there ever was. What's funny is she works in marketing, and she's just like the most boring person you could imagine. At least it comes across that way on this episode. But they interviewed this guy. He's an analyst at Morningstar, right, which you've heard of. Man, I'm telling you, this guy knows his stuff. So he goes on the moat show. So they talk about what's their moat. Are you familiar with this moat concept, Kalyn?
I've heard you mention it, but refresh my memory and our listeners' memory.
Yeah, so they have something very defensible, right? Other people can't take their market because they have such advantages. So there's things like Google, they got this moat where they got this technology, and you can have a cost advantage moat like Walmart has and Amazon have like the lowest costs on earth because you can't go start a company today and go compete with Amazon, right?
Right.
You need $1 trillion of investment.
Unless you're Chewy.
Man, somehow, unless you're Chewy, you're so right. I guess that's because they picked one niche to really focus on rather than taking on the whole company. I don't know.
I asked a random friend, by the way, about Chewy, and I was like, yeah, so when we're talking about Chewy, and I was like, this isn't who I am, right? Like that. This company will occasionally send you a picture of your dog that's like, these nice little personalized gifts and whatever, and things like that. Like, would you pay a premium for this stuff? And he was like, absolutely. Like 100%. I'm like, really? Like,
I mean, I can get dog food anywhere, but dog food, a place they'll send me a personalized note. I mean,
well, yeah.
Anyway, so I want to give this guy proper credit. He's Rajiv Bhatia, and he did a good job on this show. But he was talking about their moat is there's this 3-company oligopoly, right? They've got this huge data set, right? All of them do. They're used for every stinking transaction on earth, right? Anytime, any lending thing, they're very cheap. You're going to do a $300,000 home loan or 500 or $1 million. You're going to pay like $50 max to these credit companies to check the credit worthiness of the person that you're going to loan this money to. So it's like nobody can compete because they can't rebuild these data sets, and there's not a lot of cost pressure or anything because they're already very cheap compared to the value that they provide, right? So he's a big believer. By the way, they're expanding great guns in India, etc. But back to that quarter, basically, it's called either a big bath or a kitchen sink quarter. I like that kitchen sink quarter. Basically, they're like, okay, we're going to have a bad quarter, so we might as well dump everything we can into this quarter. If we're going to have a bad quarter, let's have a super bad quarter. Right. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's really smart. And so they were like, there's some assets we need to impair. Our UK investment hasn't done as great as we thought it would. So we're going to take those impairments this quarter. Yeah. And it was third quarter last year. The market punished the heck out of them, but they've been doing fine. They've been doing just as well ever since. And they have this growth upside in India and so on.
That is interesting. I've never heard that phrase used before, but my last job, we were globalizing, so trying to decide when people were going to be laid off. so that we get those cost savings or whatever. So sitting around the table with the executives of this department talking about like, okay, well, we need to plan out, do we want to be having the savings captured this year, because there's a cost because we have to train people, so we have to have double staff for a little while. So planning out when it's going to hit our books, figuring out which quarter was going to be our kitchen sink quarter.
There's a lot of funny accounting stuff you can do. Obviously, like
Yeah.
Enron was the king of this stuff, and to illegal extent, but you
Right.
can do a lot of it legally. And
Yeah, it's like, man, you accountants seem super boring, and then you come up with these like, like loopholes that are like, we're gonna cook the books, but not cook the books. It's all good. I don't know. You guys all talk to each other in your like boring accounting language, and all of us are like, oh, who can read the tax code? Like, who cares? Leave it to those guys. And they're like, okay, leave it to us.
Send it to Chuck, man. Make him read it.
Right.
That's how they sneak up on you. You know, it's a
Totally.
sneak attack. They have this boring front, and then they come in and they're like, boom.
Yeah.
Now we're
Occasionally, there's the cool ones who are like, yeah, I can fly by night a little bit.
So that came out of nowhere, but I'm like totally in on True. I guess the one holdback as I look at this thing, my charting hat on, you can see there's like, I guess a chartist would say, look, there's like a band here. So they'd go up as high as 82. We're at towards the bottom end of the band. So maybe this would be a good time to buy within the band.
So this is the past year. So the past year is what we should be caring about with bands and stuff. Is that right?
Man, why would you ask me something like that? I don't know. Kalyn, it depends on the Bollinger Bands.
Yeah,
Here
that's
we go.
true. Oh, good. Thank God. I was having a hard time looking at that. Now it's much clearer for me because I can see that like the weird
right.
blobby snake is moving like this. So like that means buy.
Well, the red did cross the blue back in
Oh.
March, and the black is back under the red. It looks like we got room to run if we go beyond 1 year. I don't know what time frame you're supposed to look at. I guess it's like if you're a day trader, I guess you look at that day.
I'm sure that like there's not a hard and fast rule around this too. I'm sure that the analysts who used it could make an argument for various time frames.
It's like, here's the skeptics again. It's like the tarot card reader, right? Are there any hard and fast rules around the tarot cards?
Yeah.
Or do you go to one tarot card reader and they interpret the Queen of Swords differently than the other one?
They absolutely, yeah. There are many, all the cards interact together, you know? Do you look at the reversal? Whatever. Like, let's flip the chart upside down and see what that looks like, because...
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So one chartist looks at the Bollinger Bands, and one looks at the 50, and one looks at the 180 day, and
and one is like, I feel like True is the way to go. What do my feelsies say?
I got the feelsies for True, baby.
Yeah.
We're to the part of this show that we call "What the Hell's in Kalyn's Portfolio." So, Kalyn, what gem have you picked for us today?
Let's see, man. An oldie that I've got that I won't ever sell. Apparently, I got in my head that Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae would be good stocks to buy, and they haven't been. But I think Total Gain isn't as bad as at one point it was awful. So maybe they're better nowadays than they were before. I've only lost 50% of my money on Fannie Mae.
We're gonna have to do some homework for next time. There's hedge fund billionaires that lost bucket loads in Freddie Mac because I don't even know the full story, but there's people who went to the Supreme Court. They sued the federal government for whatever they did to Freddie Mac.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Fannie Mae was tied into that either.
Huh. So. Yeah. Somehow I was left out of the lawsuit because
they lost. They lost at the Supreme Court.
So I mean, I still own their stock. I get they're very cheap stocks.
Why not? We've moved on beyond the videos and the sex aids or not sex aids, or the women's sexual health. And now we're on to boring.
Oh, you mean the gummy bear?
The gummy bears. Maybe we should research that too.
Yeah.
The use of gummies in sexual.
So Fannie Mae is FNMA, and FMCC is Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corp. Yeah, that's Freddie Mac. Yeah, FMCC. Yeah.
And you're in both.
Uh-huh.
All right.
I'm in deep on both. No, not now because I've lost all my money already.
I think I think there are some uncovered treasures in these two.
I mean, who
stocks.
knows? Now there's not much room to go down. It's only $1.27. It looks like a share right now.
You've lost 50%, so you could lose another 50%.
Oh,
So,
no. It's down to $0 worth of this stuff.
so for sure, there's room to run on that.
Yeah, I would think that they would be relatively stable.
No. We're gonna figure out
Yeah.
There was this event that happened. This thing. You're totally right. It should be stable. It should grow with
Right.
the economy.
It's a
With
safe investment.
nope.
Nope. I feel like the biggest takeaway that I have, the more that I talk about investment and look back at stock, the things that I think will be stable won't be stable. Like things I'm like, I just like it and they do well. There's nothing to be learned here. Just like your guess is as good as any. Go put money in stuff. Spread it out.
That's our financial lesson for today. Your guess is as good as any. Remember, this is not investment advice. Go put money in stuff. That is our financial lesson for today. Yes,
Including
Kalyn?
Mexican candles. That is a surefire deal.
That is guaranteed right there. On that note, we should wrap up this podcast. Cue the music. This is Robert and Kalyn Get Rich. We are a production of Robert and Kalyn Get Rich. No, we're not. We are a production of Get Rich, of this podcast empire we have created that we like to call Get Rich Media. Rate and subscribe us. Crush the like button. If you didn't damage something or hurt yourself in the process, you did not hit the like button hard enough. Tell all your friends. Tell all your enemies. Send us an email at robertandkalyngetrich@gmail.com. Kalyn is spelled Kalyn. And speaking of Kalyn, what do you tell him?
This is not financial advice outside of Mexican candles.
Don't go investing based on what you hear here, except for be sure to invest in Mexican prayer candles. We will see you next time. Deuces.